All right, diving into Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. You've given us some fascinating readings from this book. It's all about building companies that don't just, play the game, but kind of change it completely.
Yeah, Thiel's perspective is, well, fascinating because it comes from his own experiences, right?
Yeah.
We're talking co-founding PayPal, Palantir, early investments in like giants like Facebook and SpaceX.
Mhm.
He's really seen what it takes to create something truly groundbreaking.
And that leads to the central question, the one that really sets the tone. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? It's a challenge right from the start. Think differently.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It forces us to examine our own assumptions.
Mm.
So much of the business world, they're focused on those small improvements, copying what's already working. But Thiel, he wants us to break free from that, create something totally new, 0 to 1.
You sent over some really interesting sections, everything from globalization versus technology to the power law and even the concept of secrets. Where should we start?
Let's jump into one of Thiel's, I think, most thought-provoking arguments, that technological progress, not globalization, is the key to a better future.
Okay, let's unpack that. I remember Thiel making the point that globalization without new tech is just spreading the same old ways of doing things, could create more problems.
Right. He uses the example of China doubling its energy production.
Yeah.
Without new tech, that likely means doubling their pollution as well. It highlights the need for real innovation, not just copying existing practices on a bigger scale.
So applying this to our own lives, it's a reminder to think about how we use tech in our fields to create positive change. Not just doing things better, but doing entirely new things.
Absolutely. Think about the difference between like optimizing a horse-drawn carriage and inventing the car. That's the kind of impact Thiel's talking about.
Now, Thiel's experience during the dot-com bubble, he was right there with PayPal, saw the highs, saw the lows.
His account of that era, it's fascinating, instructive. He captures the frenzy, that irrational exuberance, investors pouring money into anything with a dot-com.
He tells this crazy story about a South Korean firm wiring PayPal $5 million without even negotiating a deal. Wild West atmosphere.
It really was. But from that chaos, Thiel took some incredibly valuable lessons from the dot-com crash. He identifies four, I guess you could say, misguided beliefs that a lot of entrepreneurs took away, beliefs that actually hinder innovation.
Okay, I'm listening. What were those mistaken takeaways?
First, people started focusing on incremental advances instead of going for groundbreaking innovation. Second, they thought staying lean and flexible was better than having a clear, ambitious plan. Third, they became obsessed with being better than the competition rather than creating entirely new categories.
And finally, they focused all on the product and forgot about the sales and getting it out there.
Exactly. Thiel argues that those seemingly prudent lessons can lead to mediocrity. They encourage playing it safe and chasing trends instead of, forging a truly unique path.
So, for our listener, have you ever played it too safe after a setback? Maybe learned the wrong lessons from failure? How do we identify the truly groundbreaking opportunities and not just follow everyone else?
Crucial question.
Hmm.
Leads us to another one of Thiel's boldest claims, his argument for monopolies.
This is where Thiel really flips the script. He argues that monopolies, in the sense of companies that create something truly new and valuable, they're actually good for society.
He's not talking about monopolies that stifle competition with, shady practices. He's talking about companies that create so much value, that solve a problem so well that they become the dominant force.
And he contrasts this with the intense competition, which, he argues, often leads to everyone racing to the bottom. Profits shrink, innovation stops, nobody wins.
Exactly. He uses Google, they dominate search. Their monopoly, Thiel argues, allows them to invest in these big long-term projects like self-driving cars and artificial intelligence. But then you think of like a small restaurant stuck in a competitive market just trying to survive.
So time for our listener to think, right? Do you work in a competitive space or more of a monopoly? How can you stand out, create lasting value, and maybe achieve that market dominance?
Fascinating question. And it leads us to another idea that Thiel emphasizes, building companies that create value way into the future.
Last mover advantage, right.
I-
He compares Twitter, with its potential to dominate communication, with a company like the New York Times company facing a declining industry, an uncertain future. Powerful comparison.
It is. And it asks, are we building something that will matter in 10 years, or are we chasing short-term gains in a fleeting market?
That really gets to the heart of what it means to build something lasting, really makes you think long term. Now onto another cool concept from Zero to One, the power law.
This is where Thiel digs into, like, success itself,
Hmm?
argues it's not, spread out evenly, but follows this power law pattern. A few companies or people, they get those huge results compared to everyone else.
I remember this being a big aha moment in the book. He gives that example of venture capital funds, where the top investment often equals or even beats the returns of all the other investments in the whole fund.
Crazy, right?
Really shows how concentrated success can be. And it's not just venture capital, it's everywhere. Like music. Just a tiny fraction of artists, they get most of the streams, the sales.
So for someone building a career, a business, the takeaway is focus on the high-impact actions, the stuff that can lead to big wins.
Exactly. Find those opportunities, your 10x win. Don't try to be good at everything, spread yourself thin. Focus.
Reminds me of another idea, secrets. Thiel says there are still, truths, valuable insights out there just waiting to be discovered.
Be curious, right? Question what everyone thinks is true. Seek out those hidden gems. He uses the example of Andrew Wiles, proved Fermat's last theorem. Mathematicians have been trying for centuries. Shows that even in well-known fields, there can be these breakthroughs waiting to happen. So for you listening, what about your field? What are those hidden assumptions? What's everyone not looking at? Those blind spots? That could lead to something big.
Yeah, gotta have that sense of wonder. Don't be afraid to explore. Now, switching gears a bit, building a successful company, need a great team.
Thiel says choosing co-founders, it's like getting married. Alignment is key. He tells a story. An early investment he made, company failed, the founders just mismatched.
It shows how important it is to find people with the right skills, yeah, but also share your vision, values. Got to work together through the tough times, stay focused on the long game.
And it's not just the right people, it's making sure everyone wants to create value. Ownership, possession, and control, like Thiel says.
Everyone on the team, they should have a stake in the company's success. Everyone working towards the same goal.
It's about building a partnership more than just a team. Now, along with that, Thiel also talks about distribution. Just as important as the product. You can have the best thing in the world, but if no one can get it, what's the point?
So true. Distribution, it's often overlooked. New entrepreneurs, they focus on the product, the features, but even the best product, it needs a way to reach the right people.
He goes through different models, complex sales, personal sales, marketing, viral marketing, uses Tesla. They started with a high-end sports car, built that credibility, then went to the mass market.
Smart. Thinking creatively about distribution can be just as powerful as the product itself. So think about it. How will you reach your audience? What channels can you use? How can you tailor your approach to your specific market?
Great questions. Now, let's get into an area where Thiel has a really unique perspective. Man and machine.
A lot of people worry about, robots taking jobs, AI getting out of control, but Thiel, he's more optimistic, more practical. Computers, they won't replace us completely. They're tools that can help us do amazing things, solve those really complex problems.
I like how he frames it. He's not ignoring the dangers of technology, but he's saying, let's look at the potential good. He uses examples like PayPal's fraud detection system, uses AI, and Palantir working with intelligence agencies. Computers can tackle those tough problems.
Exactly. Technology can amplify human intelligence, make us more effective. It's not us versus machines, it's us with machines. So think about it. How can you use technology to push boundaries in your field? Use these tools to, boost your skills, solve harder problems, create more value.
Now, before we finish our deep dive into 0 to 1, gotta talk about Thiel's analysis of the clean tech bubble.
This is a good one, a cautionary tale. Even in a field as important as clean energy, you can't forget about good business. Enthusiasm, good intentions, they aren't enough. Got to understand the market, execute well, build that competitive advantage that lasts.
He breaks down why a lot of clean tech companies, they failed. Even with all the investment, all the support. One big mistake, they went after these huge competitive markets instead of focusing on dominating a smaller niche.
They thought technology would move faster, underestimated how hard it is to, scale production and distribution.
Makes you think even with a good cause, gotta get the business basics right. The clean tech bubble, it's like a lesson in what not to do.
Yeah, it really highlights Thiel's big message. Think for yourself, question everything. Don't just follow the crowd. Find those unusual opportunities where you can create something truly new.
So for everyone listening, what are the key takeaways here?
The biggest one, challenge the status quo. Ask, what if everyone else is wrong? That's where those groundbreaking ideas come from, the ones that change everything.
We've covered a lot in our deep dive into 0 to 1. Globalization and technology, monopolies, the power law. Thiel wants us to rethink how we build businesses, how we take risks, how we create value that lasts.
He wants us to find that 10x opportunity. That idea, it's so good, so different, it creates its own category. And that often means, like we talked about, finding those secrets, those hidden niches, the things everyone believes. Without question, that's where the real potential is. Just waiting for someone to see it.